Now we're on the record.
Is this thing on?
I would hope so.
Okay.
All right, guys, we are here with the one, the only, the beautiful, the talented, the wonderful Claire Hanna. You've been graced by her wonderful voice all week on the broadcast here in Ottawa. She's a legend, former libero of the women's national team in Canada, former UBC Thunderbird national champion, multi-time national champion, three. First and foremost, Claire, thank you for being here with us. This is a direct request from the Discord. Claire is a member of the Discord. She does come in every now and again and ask you guys questions, and we love that. But first and foremost, Claire, how's your week been so far?
Okay, I'm going to go and cover this on a couple of different angles, but
Love that.
I've been really battling with my voice, and as a commentator, that is so tough. And I came into this week a little bit sick, also a little bit run down because I did the Men's World Hockey Championships, a really similar event to this in the Czech Republic.
What was it, like how many games?
I did 30 games in 14 days.
Gross.
And I mean, we do a lot of games here in a short volume of time, but my voice has been battling. And so if you did like a what's in her bag, there's like 24 cough drops, there's Advil, there's 2 packs of Kleenex, there's some like crazy things that are supposed to numb my throat.
There's honey.
And actually, did you see my bottle of honey?
Oh yeah, no, we were talking over on the bleachers over the other day, and I come over and you're just like, no, and I was like, oh, you just got tea and honey, and she literally pulls out a mug and a thing of honey. I was like, oh yeah.
There's like lemon and ginger,
yeah.
And I apologize because I actually was trying not to use my voice any extra times that I didn't have to talk to coaches or do commentary, so I was like going home straight to bed. So that's been a struggle, and I apologize because normally I can give a little bit more energy, but I've been kind of holding back. So anyways, but here's the thing, the volleyball has been so elite, and that always energizes anybody. And I feel like there's been a couple games that I can mark in my brain that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would love to watch that game over and over again. I think about Canada-USA yesterday.
That was...
Holy mackerel, that was an amazing game. I feel so honored that I got to watch that in real life. So it's been a good week, and I just kind of wanted to throw out an apology. And also thank you for letting me be in the Discord. I feel very honored that I kind of get to see what you guys are saying, and I don't mind that you guys bash us as commentators. You're allowed to have an opinion. You're allowed to boo us. That's your prerogative. But yeah.
There's been a lot of love too. Well, I haven't been on the Discord a lot this week. It's a lot harder to be on the Discord when I'm like here in person and not watching. But I've seen a lot of love for you. They've been throwing you a lot of love for your pronunciation of the athlete names. What was that?
The little heart that they do in Korea, or we can do in here.
Yeah, no, it's you need the Gen Z heart though. What is it?
Yeah, I know. I can't do it with. That's what I was trying to do it with one hand.
Yeah. Okay. The Korean heart.
This one like this.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. I like that. Yesterday's match though, for me that was a top 3 match in Canada. When I'm looking and I like put it up there with like Brazil when we beat Brazil in Toronto in 2012. In front of 8,000 people.
You're going back in the archives.
Yeah, well, I am an archive. And then in Vancouver in 2020 when we beat Cuba to like that for me is like in terms of wins on Canadian soil in front of home fans, that has to be a top 3. Sold a VNL North American record for attendance, beating the U.S. on home. Like it was just so special. And I said to a few people before the game, I was like, yo, there's a vibe. Like I think something good's about to happen. And it did. What was it like being on the call for that?
Okay, so before the game, I always talk to the coaches.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Thomas, and he said something. He's like, you know what? Normally, we play the United States, they win, and we go on with our lives. And he's like, but today, I've asked the players to dig deep, and I kind of, he was like telling me that he felt that there was something special in the air, and I was like, okay, we're on to something. And then, you know, he talked about how he wanted his players to just commit to the speed of the U.S. Offense, try to really key in on their blocks, and then I go back, and I'm just kind of writing on my notes by myself. I'm in the corner, jotting things down, and then this is crazy. Thomas came over to me.
That in itself.
I know.
That in itself is crazy.
And I actually don't usually talk to Thomas. I talk to Matt Hawkins.
Yeah.
And Thomas is like, yeah, I'll give you a couple minutes today. I was like, okay. And so anyways, I'm over by myself, and he comes over and he's like, hey, I just want to say one more thing. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I just want to give you one more nugget in that. He's like, I talked about that commitment, but he's like, I just want to see players just really be confident in their decision making today. And I was like, okay. And so I'm like writing this down. But for him to come over to a commentator just out of the blue, I've never had a coach do that, to add a note in. And I thought to myself, okay, like there's something that's going to be special about this game. I wasn't actually on the call. I was doing the courtside interviews, but I liked that because I could feel the energy, and I'm like looking in the crowd, and I'm seeing how much this crowd was feeding into it. And I asked Thomas in the game, and you'll be able to see this on VNL, my second question to him after the second set, I was like, how do you embrace this atmosphere? How do you think your players are embracing it? And he's like, it's not about the atmosphere. He's like, we're just focused on winning right now. And he's like so dialed. And I'm like, okay, that's great. That's your answer. And I respect his serious approach to the game, but I thought he might give me a little something because the atmosphere, I'm sure the players were loving it and feeding off of it, and it is a factor.
Right from the first point, American player steps back on the baseline and it's just a chorus of boos. And, you know, it dropped a little in that second set. I feel like the crowd didn't come back with the same energy in the second set, but the team did a really good job of getting them back into the third and then into through the fourth. Like, the chorus of boos was just amazing. Because oftentimes, especially when you're coming here, it's kind of like playing a Sens game at home against the Leafs, where like half the fans end up being from the opponent's team.
Yeah, half of them are Leafs fans.
Half of them are Leafs fans. I have some horrible traumatic memories about Sens losing to Leafs and like the cheers going out without the horn. That's just weird, right? But it's kind of the same thing for Canada USA sometimes. I've met so many American fans who travel up here from the East Coast because this is the only time that they can watch men's volleyball, you know, in North America. So
and I just want to give those fans a shout out because during the match, obviously it's dominated by Canadian fans. But there was a lady, she was sitting on the baseline, and every time Canada was serving, she'd say, USA, USA. And I thought more people were going to join in, but she was this like one-woman show just trying to encourage her team.
Yeah,
respect.
But the chorus of boos that came out over the Americans whenever they were serving in the match, I thought was amazing. And it's just like, just watching how Canadian fans are getting more and more implicated and more behind this team is just so awesome to see.
And the rivalry's growing. And that's because Canada volleyball has accelerated in the past decade. And so for the first time, the United States are being pushed by them more consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've been at this event now for 3 years, right?
Rimini in 2021 in the bubble was my first year doing VNL stuff.
And you've done Ottawa all 3 years here. I mean, makes sense. You are the reporter for TSN Ottawa, so it makes sense. And you're perfect in volleyball. But how have you felt? Have you felt like it's grown from year to year?
Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. I think that this year has definitely had more fans than before. But there's a couple teams that always bring fans. And I remember the first year I was here, Poland was here.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like having to plan getting here early so I could get a parking spot in the parkade because the Polish fans would arrive so early in the day and commit to all the games, whether Poland was the first match or the last match, and also Brazil. Brazil always, their fans travel so well. So when you take those two teams, though, out of the mix, so neither of those teams are at VNL.
No.
I was wondering, I'm like, oh, okay, I think attendance might drop this year. But no, it's increased. And I'm going to say Steve Marr's quote after the game, he was like, you know what? Because we've had this consistency of this event in Ottawa, people remember, and then they put it in their calendars for the next year. And he thinks that this is really valuable in VNL to continue putting stops in one location because you continue to see the same fans and more. And we've been trying to put it out there on Twitter. And I mean, that helps too because TSN 1200, the local sports radio station, they interviewed Steve Marr. They've been promoting it all week. And I think just the whole community is really embracing it, and I only think it's going to grow, Everett.
I honestly think so too. I think Volleyball Canada has actually done a fantastic job with this event.
Yeah.
Like there's so many volunteers or not even volunteers, but staff behind the scenes who make this run. Like especially Brad Moyer, the Silver Fox, my boy. But they've just like continually raised the bar here, and this is actually one of the premier events for the VNL here in Ottawa, which is, if you had told me that 10 years ago, like if you had told me that when you were doing like women's national team tours of like Hamilton playing like the Dutch and stuff like that, I would
remember that, hey?
Oh yes,
Oshawa.
Oshawa, yeah. Like, but once again, like the women's team has had that growth too, so they're able to have that recognition. Like you're really seeing right now where the growth of volleyball in Canada has come. And I was talking to someone from the OVA, and they're saying that like last year in the OVA they had like something like 900 something teams, and this year that increased to over 1,200. So you're seeing that growth year after year at the youth level as well.
And you know what blows my mind is, so of course the United States, the defending Olympic gold medalists in women's volleyball, the men got that bronze in Rio a couple years ago. I would have expected the record-breaking crowds to come in Arlington or somewhere in the United States just because of how big volleyball is there.
Yeah.
So for it to happen in Canada, like we're a small but mighty volleyball nation.
We did beat out Nebraska. Nebraska had held the previous North American record.
Okay, but that's what I mean. I wouldn't have expected it to be Ottawa that would beat the North American record. So that's where I'm saying, like, this is a sports city, but also this nation really embraces volleyball.
I think it's hard to start, like, without, like, other than not having a professional league, I think you can't really look at Canada being like, Canada isn't a volleyball nation anymore. Look at, like, Mel and Brandy just lost another final in the Elite 16. The women are right on that verge of qualifying the Olympics.
They lost the final in Ostrava?
Yeah, they lost the final to...
You just broke that
I'm sorry.
news on... Are you kidding me?
I know.
I was in Ostrava. So that's where the men's world hockey championships were.
I know. You were posting from that exact spot.
And I actually, I shouldn't admit this, but I was watching them put the sand in, and I like went out to the sand and I grabbed a bill and like I said a Canadian prayer. And then they were like, get off the court. Like, because they were literally, they had these bulldozers that were bringing the sand in there. And then I took a couple selfies and I ran off because I was getting kicked off anyways.
So, funny story. I'm pretty sure, I know that before the pandemic, I don't know if it's the case anymore, but all FIVB sand actually just comes from Huntsville, Ontario.
Really?
Yeah.
So they just boated it over there across the Atlantic?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I know that was pre-pandemic for the Olympics and for the FIVB
the videos I have of them
World Tour.
Trucking that sand in.
Oh yeah,
it's
I've
crazy.
seen it.
And Ostrava's such a neat little Czech town.
Yeah, and like in that industrial, that's where they put. It's honestly one of the coolest
I did a
stops.
TikTok there.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
Yeah, it was silly,
it
but
was you and your
fun.
old Polish teammate.
Yeah.
Once again, I watch your
You're
stuff.
So dialed.
I'm such a big. Well, like I'm a big fan of yours because I've known you for so long, and I've like watched you.
You got me first involved with volleyball commentary. It was back in Calgary.
Calgary 2015.
Yeah.
She used to work for us.
Yes.
And then she blew us out of the water.
No,
now she's
I
too
didn't.
Big for us.
I want to keep working with you guys. My other job's just pulling me away.
That's exactly.
But I felt so honored in that you were like having me do some interviews with some of the players, whether it was like Dallas Sunius, and I was pretty rusty back then. Like it was not good, and I'm like, you guys should be the ones asking questions.
Neither were we. Like
we were just like these renegades, these kids trying to create content, and that was before TikTok. That was before Instagram was even a thing.
Like it's crazy now when I'm up in the media era. It used to be just me. And there'd be a couple like maybe reporters and they've got a notepad, and now it's like I had to be like, guys, we need more plugs here because everyone's here with cameras and they're all like, we've got so many young content creators up there. I feel like a dad. It's no, literally, like I have like an 18-year-old kid like working for me this week, and I'm like, you need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to drink water, and it's like what is happening here?
You're the old man now.
I literally am the old man here.
Oh, are there some grays I see in your hair?
Oh, don't get me. No, they are. That's exactly. My girlfriend's gonna watch this, and she's a big fan of yours as well too, by the way. And she's gonna be laughing so hard because she always, whenever we're sitting on the couch, she's like, I can see the grays. And they're starting to come to my chest too. And
I have a makeup budget to dye my hair, so you just don't see my grays.
But you look great always. Just to wrap it up though, you do events everywhere around the world. You've done Wimbledon, you've done the Women's World Cup, you just did the World Hockey Championships, you do the CFL Grey Cup, you do the NHL. How does VNL rank for you? You be honest.
No, okay, it's my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm being completely honest because, and I'm going to be a bit vulnerable with you guys, but because I played volleyball at a high level for the national team, this is the only sport where I feel 100% confident in what I'm saying because I know the experiences of what it feels like to get that dig. I played middle blocker as well. I've played outside hitter. I know what it's like to get a huge block, to get a big kill, and I can relate to the players. And when I go and talk to them or the coaches, like I'm confident, and it's not even like I'm confident. I'm just feel comfortable, and I feel like I'm in my space. Like this is where I belong, and I love covering all the other sports. However, I just have never had an experience of getting checked into the boards by Morgan Riley or catching a pass from Cody Fajardo in a clutch moment in a Grey Cup game. And I will say, though, as an athlete, I can relate to experiences and what it feels like to come back from an injury, what it feels like to lose a close game. So that's where I relate to those athletes, and I try to do more human interest stories, but I'm never going to be able to talk about running the A gap when it comes to a CFL game. And so that's why this is my favorite. And also, this hasn't been overtaken by like sports betting and crazy advertising yet. To me, this feels really pure. Like this is amateur sport, but with crazy good professionals. And it's that perfect balance of the highest level, but it hasn't been over commercialized yet. So I'm being serious. This is my favorite event.
Speaking of that, like, that players really want to be here. I know for a fact I know for a fact that there's players on some of these national teams.
Oh my God, Gianelli's right behind you. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, I did an interview with him the other day.
Hey, what's up? Polonsky's like waving at us right now.
No, Polonsky's our boy. Luciano's our boy.
Sorry, I got distracted by all the stars.
So speaking of that, I know for a fact that due to the financial situations of some of the national federations here, that some of the players had to pay their own way to be here. So
that's
like that is the level of dedication that some of these players have to wearing this isn't the volleyball is not a massively paying sport. You're not making millions. You're lucky if you're making hundreds of thousands. You're not like private jets. It's coach, it's economy, and these players are here. Like they play all year and they come here to wear their jersey for pride. And some of them pay to be here, which is insane. And it just shows how dedicated they are to this.
And like it makes me emotional to think about that, because this is like truly passionate athletes. And I'm not taking anything away from NHL players, because I think a lot of them are there for the right reasons.
100%.
But it's like there's some sports that have become a lot about money. And to me, they can make good money in volleyball, but it's never going to be like PJ money.
No.
When I say PJ, I mean private jet money.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's one team in volleyball that has a private jet.
That makes the guys also, it keeps them level-headed mentally, because you don't get caught up with that crazy lifestyle that comes with being a pro athlete that's making like $7 to $20 million a year. And I think that's important. And that's why I think volleyball's still in the perfect space.
Yeah. I'd like it to grow a little bit more, but I do agree.
Okay, maybe a bit more money. But like the thing is, you always want more. And I'm like, okay, guys, realize how good you have it.
Yeah, it is.
The women, I wish the women got paid more, though. We need to be
we're pretty much at par.
Okay, really?
Leon, who's the highest paid men's player in the world, gets 1.4. Ogona, who's the highest women's paid player, gets 1.3.
Okay,
right?
Well, that's $100,000 difference.
You
know what? You know way more about this than me. So that makes me happy. That makes me happy. Oh.
That's your water, actually.
Okay.
But Claire, always a pleasure to see you. Always
Thanks
a pleasure
for having
to talk
me.
to you. Love that you're here and involved with this event. And hey, anytime you want to come, throw some pro bono work our way, we'd love to have you, of course.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, and also
and thanks for watching, and thanks for just giving great feedback. Discord,
course.
you guys rock.
Yeah, but also I just want to say I'm really proud of your success. Like I love watching you. I love being in a bar and TSN's on and your face is on there. I love seeing you with Marissa Roberto. She's my number 2 favorite, like one of my favorite sportscasters as well. I love her on social, and you two together are rock. But
I love her too.
I love watching what you do, and thank you for chatting with me today.
Thanks for having me, and keep crushing it in the volleyball source world. Volleyball source 2.0.
Bye guys. Thank you.